now we're going to do it.
So New Voices legislation is an attempt to allow students to be able to make their own decisions in terms of what content they publish in their various publications, their magazines, their newspapers, their websites.
I hope the message that comes out of New Voices is for administration in schools to realize that the importance of, while the highlight isn't the Indianapolis Star, it is a very serious effort by kids who are not messing around to do things that are meaningful and write about things that are important and meaningful. And we should support that.
Like obviously there are a lot of more tangible skills that you learn being on staff, like how to use the software programs and how to take pictures and things like that. But I think I've also grown a lot as a person. I've gained some leadership skills. And I think that just being a student journalist has impacted the way I look at the world, because it's just, being a student journalist just helps you to see that like everyone has a story, and like there's so many interesting things around you that being a student journalist just trains you to notice and trains you to like think about. And I feel like it just gives you a greater appreciation and like this desire to understand the world around you.
If you have an opinion about something, if you want something to be changed, or you think something needs to be changed, like you should have the right to express that. And I think that working on the New Voices bill has only like reinforced that belief in me. Like I've always believed that it's important for people to express themselves, and it's important to like have that ability and have that opportunity to say, like, this is what I believe in.
And this is as a former publications advisor, I would say there's censorship and there's what I call guidance. I think student journalists should always have guidance. I don't necessarily think censorship is the answer.
I know that if we exercise prior review, prior restraint here, I would kind of wonder, well, what's my role? Why am I as the advisor even here? Especially now that I'm the person with the journalism degree, and I understand, hopefully if I've been hired correctly, that I understand what needs to go into a story in order for it to be done correctly. If you operate with prior review or prior restraint, then what role do I even serve?
So basically the whole process is set up to have like the maximum amount of feedback possible on all the stories. Every story that goes through, like the whole staff should have the opportunity to look at it, and then we have editors look at it, we have reporters, and there's managing editors, and also Striza looks at all of the content. So we make sure that it's definitely thoroughly thought through before we put it into print.
We have to have a series of standards that we follow in any story that we write. And whether the story is potentially controversial or somewhere in between, we want to use the same set of standards every time. So I never tell students that they can't write a story. But I do make sure that they meet the criteria that we've established as a staff. So, things like the proper number of sources, the right sources, that we've asked them the right questions, that they've done their research and their homework, that they have talked to all of the applicable people that might have some stake in that particular story. And if it doesn't meet those criteria, then we're not going to run it. But we have to have that same standard, and my job is to sort of teach students what that standard is so that they can think about that before they send something to the printer.
There were often times when I was and Mr. Streisel, I think, will tell you that when I was the principal here, I would just walk down and walk in the room, and I would see really what education is supposed to be about, where kids are working hard and they're working on something that's meaningful, and they're collaborating, and there's a hierarchy of leadership that's based inside the classroom. And Mr. Streisel's role is more of a manager of that than a teacher, and the real learning is taking place between two kids or whatever. So high regard. I think that the highlight certainly over the years served our school well. But again, more than that, it was a wonderful classroom opportunity.
I'm actually pretty comfortable with what we have here, which is, you know, pretty free thought, but very high standards journalism. And I think that's what needs to happen at this level.
Let's be honest, there are close to 2,000 high schools in the state of Indiana. Not all of them have journalism programs, but even if half of those have journalism programs, it will have an impact on those schools. It can have an impact on those schools. You know, I go and we take students a lot to state and national conventions, and you end up seeing the same faces a lot, the same sort of handful of schools that have solid journalism programs, and it's because they have that same trust that we have from our administrators to allow those students those kinds of opportunities. But let's not kid ourselves, there are a lot of other programs out there that could do great work if they had that opportunity to really function as a public forum and to make those same kinds of decisions that students at places like Carmel do.